Ding, ding, ding. Hello. It is 9:59 p.m. on the west coast of the United States, coming up on 10 o'clock. It is 04:59 GMT Friday morning. At the sound of the Dr. Pepper opening, it is officially 10 o'clock on the west coast of the United States. Hello, everyone. Good evening to you. Glad to be here with you. Had kind of a shitty day. And I'm going to start off talking about that, I guess, because it just happened like an hour ago, and I'm really kind of still reeling from it. I've had a number of students, and I feel like more than maybe many new teachers have, but I've had more than my fair share of students say to me that they think I'm a good teacher. Some of them say they think I'm a great teacher. Some of them say they think I'm an amazing teacher. One guy wrote to me and said, "Teaching is an art and you are an artist." I swear to God, this is an actual email I got from a student who I've never met before, had literally 45 minutes of contact with in a classroom. And somehow I made his day a little brighter by helping him learn English when he was already really good, frankly. It's a lot less work when the student is really good, obviously, or really motivated even. Sometimes motivation makes a big deal, but I have not yet had somebody directly outright dislike me as a teacher until tonight. And essentially, I didn't see it coming, and I probably could not have seen it coming. But here's what happened. Okay. I'm just going to say it so I can get it off my chest here. The topic is about green. Going green, building green, green buildings, green people, recycling, solar panels, everything. Now, it is not a true beginner kit. They have student classes that are true beginners, and they have student classes that are advanced, and then there are some that are intermediate. This one was intermediate, okay? These students could speak medium good English and just need to kind of keep practicing, right? These are not beginners, and these are not advanced, but okay, it's in between. I think I had 5 students. Not all of them, their microphones work. Sometimes they have to participate through the chat room in the classroom, but that's why it's there. And the topic, as I said, was about green things, recycling, conservation, that shit. Now, I can go in many directions. I've often been called dynamic in some of these glowing letters from people who have been their teacher. Like, it's really quite warmed my heart, and the fact that this one guy was having a bad night and decided to say I was a bad teacher is not going to affect me. I'm not sitting here thinking I can't do this. I had a period like that a long time ago when I was brand new in Mexico, and I was upside down, and I was homesick, and I was still angry about losing my career, kind of a thing, before somebody had said to me, your career is not over, which is something I needed to hear and still need to hear, but fortunately I'm lucky enough to have people who say it. Anyway, topic is green things, conservation, recycling, ecology. And we're making a list of resources to conserve. It's a very specific goal-directed task, okay? We have a list here on the screen, like I can do a kind of whiteboard presentation thing with these PDFs. It's almost PowerPoint that you can write on. It's very cool. And they have, example, water. We can, reduce less water or, conserve our water. Okay. And you're supposed to come up with paper. We can save trees. Fuel, we can save on fossil fuels, all of that stuff. And one guy raises his hand and says repeatedly, I can't really explain it, but I don't think we should allow vouchers to be used at the cajeros. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, right now I'm racking my brain going, what topic is this? What is he talking about? Because it's not beginner, no comprendo inglés, it's not that. And this is not, the Shakespeare. This is not a high-level English where we can discuss the use of who and whom, and we can agree to disagree should the difference not be resolved properly. No, this is, we have a goal. Now, I can be dynamic. As I said, I've been called dynamic, so I can dance on the head of a pin, When somebody says something that's out of left field or weird, I try to, link it to what we're talking about in a very real way. I'll do a Google image search or a YouTube video search, and whatever it takes. Like, I am devoted. I pride myself on making sure that the students who are not feeling confident are inspired, that I don't scare them off, that I encourage them in a non-fake way. That's the other thing. There's nothing worse than fake encouragement, like very good. I don't believe in that. I believe in being legitimately encouraging of their actual efforts. Point out, their mistakes as is needed. Gently, supportively, sandwich it between something good and something good. That's kind of what they always taught us to do at the old place where I taught English was, if you're giving feedback, say, oh, I really liked what you said here. Now this is actually, we say this way, we say high heels instead of hells or something like that. And then you say something else that they liked. So, I don't always succeed at that, but this guy was not out of left field. He's coming in from Mars. Like, it's really a weird thing. And he repeatedly says he doesn't have the English he can't explain. He can't explain. But vouchers at ATMs, at cajeros, cash machines. Vouchers at cash machines. And I'm sitting there in my brain going, vouchers at cash machines, vouchers at cash machines. What the fuck does this have to do with ecology? Like, is he a right-wing conservative guy that says all the right-wing crap's a bunch of horse shit? Like, even that I could deal with. But this made no sense at all. And I'm like, okay, interesting. I kind of do whatever I do whenever I really cannot make a connection. I'm like, interesting, okay. Anybody else? And I just kind of redirect, go around it. I can't explain it. He can't explain it. To get into a deep discussion is not the goal here. This is intermediate English. So I'm trying to engage them in a discussion where you don't spend too much time on why tomatoes are shelved with the fruits, even though they're technically a vegetable. You don't split that hair in certain English classes. I've had people who are like, well, you're giving them bad information. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. It's not bad information when it would confuse them. All right. There's a time at which you talk about that sort of stuff, and we're not at that place yet. We can't split that hair yet. We're teaching very basic vocabulary, very basic English. And this guy, all right, so he had one comment that didn't make a lot of sense. I redirected and went on. I'm not going to spend more than 10 minutes on this, and there's only 3 minutes left. But then I could see him, he kind of closed up. Like, he wouldn't talk, calling him to talk, and he was saying things in the chat room like, I have the vocabulary, and I have the verbal skills. I just can't explain myself. And I'm like, well, okay, listen, big shot. First of all, you're my student. I dig you. Like, I want to help you. But he felt singled out. Like, I was just trying to get him to read. I was just trying to get him to speak. And he wouldn't speak anymore because I wouldn't listen to him. Or I sort of didn't know what to, I wouldn't listen. It's that I didn't know what to say about we shouldn't allow vouchers at ATM machines. Now, there may have been some kind of link that I am not aware of. I still don't get it. But I did not single him out. I didn't embarrass him. I just demotivated him, he said. At the end of the class, in front of everyone, he said, teacher, I want you to know that you demotivated me. I came into this class ready to learn English and enthusiastic, and you the word demotivated. I demotivated him, and I apologized twice. I told him I was sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen. This is not an easy medium to communicate over because there's a lag, right? You don't always know when the person is done talking. Maybe you were going to continue, but it didn't sound like it to me. And I'm good at being patient and chilling, and kicking back and letting people find their words, giving them a chance to speak. This guy actively and in front of everyone said that I was his demotivating factor, and that he didn't feel as enthusiastic to learn English anymore, and it was my fault. But then, to be fair, 2 of my other students in this 5-student class said, oh, I was motivated. I had a great time. This class was awesome. Which is what 99% of my students say. And, I don't need support in this. And support's nice. I love that people will tell me, I'm sure you do a great job. You listen to what most of the students say, which I'm doing, don't listen to what the minority says. And in fact, the fact that I've been a student or a teacher now almost 2 months with this company and haven't had a single complaint until tonight, I feel pretty good about that. So I'm going to stop talking about this. He was kind of itching for a confrontation or itching to complain from the minute he walked in the door, and I just kind of didn't let him have his whatever that was. I really still don't understand. Vouchers at ATM machines connecting with green, ecology, recycling, solar, like conservation. Maybe there's a way. Maybe there's a way in which some Latin American countries put out vouchers instead of cash at cash machines. I don't know anything about that. Maybe I'll look up more about that later. But we got some things to get to tonight, and they are things that we are continuing from last night. So, if you are joining me tonight as a continuation from last night, welcome back. Glad for that. I actually heard a text message come in right before I went on the air, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't somebody who was trying to participate. Does not appear to be. Okay. So, here we go. Let's continue. We have a trivia question from yesterday. The trivia question is, which part of the visual section? We know the music was real. Which part of the visual section of the famous HBO In Space iconic identification was CGI? We will look at the behind-the-scenes creation of it later in the show. First and foremost, last night I struggled. I really was trying to kill myself, or trying not to kill myself, in coming up with this one set of Disney jingles from the beginning and launch of the Disney Channel in 1983. And then I said at the end of the show, you know what? I even have it on a storage device. I have my storage device here in my pocket. But this was not with me last night. And then I was able to find it the second I got off the air last night. So we're going to look at the jingle from the Disney Channel that I could not bring to you last night, right now, on cBas After Dark. Give me a phone call or text message, 310-776-5869. That's 310-776-COONS. Tweet me at Sebastian Kuntz on Twitter. Or I was going to put me on a Periscope tonight, but my Periscope device is dead. Okay. It's about 7 minutes, so we're going to enjoy this now. And I'm going to try and decompress. This is cBas After Dark, watching the Disney Channel logo. And not just the logo. Watch the logo, listen to the music, the jingles, everything. The Disney Channel.
The Disney Channel.
It's everything you've ever imagined and more.
Available in selected areas through your local cable operator.
I love that line. And I love that logo right there. When I'm talking to you about logography and the gleam, the word gleam is something I will use very regularly. Because it is probably my single favorite of all of the different little elements. Text that goes by on the screen, or a logo that looks like light is reflecting off of it. I love the gleam. We'll watch a GE thing later that has the gleam. But in the olden days, like, this had to be hand animated. This was not CGI, you know. So back to the actual Disney. I'm going to try not to interrupt, but I'm probably going to have to start and stop it a lot to talk about why I love it so. The Disney Channel. It's everything you've ever imagined and more.
Announcing what everyone has been waiting for. The Disney Channel. Oh yes, definitely. Coming your way soon. It's everything you've ever imagined and more. Call your cable operator for local availability.
Call your cable operator for local availability. Tell me that's not badass, you know.
Announcing the Mystery Channel. The History Channel. The Adventure Channel. The Health Channel. The Nature Channel. The Family Channel. The Learning Channel. The Fantasy Channel. The Channel of Tomorrow. The Disney Channel. It's everything you've ever imagined and more. Call your cable operator for local availability. For everyone who's ever wanted to fly, who believes that dreams come true, who's wanted the good guys to win, who's rooted for the underdog, wished to become a star or believe in magic, who's looked forward to tomorrow. In other words, for all of us,
The Disney Channel.
It's everything you've ever imagined and more. Call your cable operator for local availability. This is the dawn of a new era for cable television. This year, the Disney Channel arrives on the scene.
Here comes the new reality, the family fun mentality, lacks conventionality.
Today on Disney tonight, at the speed of light. Now we're gonna take you right by satellite. The decks and wild shipwrecks, lengthy tricks and great effects. Danger flight in dark and night, spooky flight by
Candlelight. On Disney today, on Disney tonight, coming your way at the speed of light. Yeah, we're gonna treat you right by satellite.
Ski tricks and cartoon flicks, comics,
Slapstick country links, drive-in aces, speedy races, madcap faces, super chases. Here comes the new reality, the family fun mentality. You can see
on Disney today,
on Disney tonight, coming your way at the speed of light. Yeah, we're gonna treat you right by sight.
Magic Johnson, Elephant Johnson, Wizards Dugan, Orchid Bunkin, Guardian Faces, far off places, missing pieces,
In spaces, Disney today, on Disney tonight, coming your way at the speed of light. Yeah, we're gonna treat you right by satellite.
The wonderful Disney film library is just part of the picture. The Disney Channel will also present an enriching lineup of brand new hits. That's pretty good. Imagineers are creating a wide range of innovations for the whole family. New Puppetronics.
New Puppetronics. I'm sorry, that looks like a guy in a regular Goofy suit, doesn't it? That's not really a new form of Puppetronics.
Let's change places, if you agree. We'll change places, I'll be you'll be me.
Again, people in suits, the Winnie the Pooh show.
New Epcot-inspired shows.
Of course, the Animal Guy.
Science and nature. New dramatic series. The new Disney Channel
The
magazine.
new Disney Channel magazine.
A cutout, fill-in, play-along adventure all its own. Featured monthly as a big part of our approach to interactive programming. A unique Disney concept that makes this the Do It Together channel.
And I gotta say, that was one of the cool things about the Disney Channel is they had a magazine that they sent to all their subscribers just kind of automatically. And yeah, as a kid to be able to play along with in a weird interactive 1983 way with a channel on television was a new concept. I mean, it's everyday concept now with the internet, but in 1983, this was really different.
Plus acclaimed feature films from around the world, specially selected for family viewing.
I got a story that's gonna knock your socks off. That's me. God, I'm a cute little fella, aren't I?
At last, there's a place for grown-ups and kids to share quality viewing time together. And the Disney Channel is that place.
Everybody has a laughing place, a history place.
Everybody has a nature place, and we go to a studio. We have got your future place.
Window on tomorrow, ho!
An interface with
The human race. Oh, 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 ha, 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 ho, ho, ho. Oh, are you in luck? Come join us in our laughing place with Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck.
Everybody needs a caring place where wishes all come true. Everybody needs a sharing place, and we'll share ours with you.
Okay, this is almost over. If you're wondering what the fuck you just tuned into. Place that loves memory. The Disney Channel is the key. Walt Disney World. Disneyland. Sharing place. Future place if you're looking for. Sharing place. The Disney Channel is the place. The Disney Channel.
The Disney Channel.
Everything you've ever imagined and more.
Available in
Available in select areas through your local cable operator. All right, so that's that. Now, what the fuck is your fascination, Sebastian? I hear you cry. Why did you just make us watch that? What the hell? And I'm like, the reason is because, well, A, that jingle had been playing in my head. Every so often, my brain will decide it's time for a new loop song where it will play all day and all night, no matter what I'm doing, no matter how distracted I am, I will still have this tune playing in the back of my head. That's what it was yesterday. And that's what got me excited to even do a show yesterday, was sort of, yes, jingles and gleaming and shit. Stuff I want to talk about, regardless of if it's interesting to anybody live or on tape later. It is Anything Can Happen Thursday, after all. But then last night, live on the show, I could not find that video. Just saved my life. For some reason, the link was not apparent. It was not coming up in any of the things I searched for. And you can see that all live, by the way, if you watched last night's show. All right, the time is 10:21 West Coast time. It is 05:21 GMT. This is cBas After Dark. What I'm going to do for the next half hour, changing gears a little bit. Now, as I said, coming up, the answer to the trivia question, if anybody has actually submitted the correct answer by 10 to 11 p.m., 11, or the time would be 10:50 or 05:50 GMT, then I will go ahead and reveal the answer to the question, which is which part of the famous HBO In Space identification bumper was CGI in the year it was produced, which was 1983. We already established the music as a real 65-piece orchestra, but which part of the HBO In Space thing was CGI computer? And there are actually two acceptable answers, and we will go over that at exactly 10 minutes before the end of the show. So stay with me. Let me think now. 28 minutes, right? 28 minutes from right now, we'll reveal the answer. But as for now, what I'm going to do is some AT&T films I stumbled onto by accident, and we're just going to kind of spin the wheel and see which AT&T film we find here. But, God, this is entertaining. Just watching. I hope it's some of the ones. Let's go YouTube. I just want to search for AT&T film, because they have a whole channel of them. The AT&T Tech channel. Unix, making computers easier to use. A 23-minute video on that. Let's look at the genesis of the transistor. Or wait, single sideband. What was one of the one? Okay, here we go. This is the one I want to watch right here. AT&T Archives Advanced Mobile Phone Service. A cell phone instructional movie, 15 minutes long, before I reveal the end here, okay?
The business of living involves communicating, which often means conversing. And in today's active mobile world, conversing more and more often is by telephone. The phone brings people closer together, helping to answer questions and solve problems quickly. What happens, however, if we're on the move?
What happens, however, if we're on the move? Now, this is not going to be another one where I start and stop. I'm more into just watching it, and I know that just drives people crazy when I keep interrupting and commentating, but I may talk during, but I won't stop it often. But anyway, I feel like the AT&T public relations department, the Bell phone company PR people, had some videos. The only films that kind of top them as far as just sheer relics of the time they were produced are the train companies. I believe Union Pacific had it, and other train freight lines had a remarkable production budget for writing a script, producing a film that would then be mass produced, I guess, and shown in schools. Or like, I sometimes look at these and go, okay, what audience was this for? Who was shown this film? A 15-minute projector movie in 1978 about cell phones. Now, to watch them explain the concept to a world that had not heard of it is one thing, but I'm just going to let it play. 14 minutes long or so. It will be worth it. What I was going to stop and say before I went back to it was the phone number one more time: 310-776-5869. Text as well as call if you want. Tweet me if you want. If you're on Twitter, there, I'd put up my Skype. If you can just kind of comment on this video, if you happen to be watching on tape later, do that. But do send me feedback, and I will take your feedback on text message live on the show here as well, if you decide to text me. Okay, back to the entertainment here. I'm going to try hard not to stop it and talk.
Today, cost and other limitations make it difficult for most of us to have a mobile telephone. That's today, but what about tomorrow? For several years, Bell Laboratories engineers have been working on a mobile telephone system that will be economical, reliable, and able to serve more people than the present system can accommodate.
So they have a present phone system now. The year is 78.
The Advanced Mobile Phone Service, or AMPS.
AMPS.
A high-capacity system that will offer service to thousands of customers. Essentially, mobile telephone systems have been and still are two-way radio connections between a telephone in a vehicle and the regular telephone network.
Yeah.
The first mobile system, developed in the late 1930s, used a push-to-talk telephone handset connected to a radio transceiver in the vehicle. A mobile service operator connected the calls to the regular telephone network. This special operator kept track of the channel each mobile caller was using and could not reassign the channel until the call had been completed. All land transmission was handled from a single high-power transmitter positioned at a high elevation near the base station. The transmitter was located in the middle of a mobile service area, called an MSA.
An MSA.
Roughly 20 miles in radius. Two or more receivers were situated throughout the MSA to pick up signals coming from the lower-powered transmitters in widely scattered vehicles.
Widely scattered vehicles.
In 1946, 21 channels were available in the FCC allocated frequency bands. 10 channels in the 35 megahertz band, only 2 could be assigned in any given area, and 11 channels in the 150 megahertz band. In 1952, another allocation by the FCC made 12 additional channels available, this time in the 450 megahertz band, bringing the total number of channels to 33.
This is amazing shit, right?
In that early system, only a portion of the total number of available channels in any one frequency band could be assigned to a single MSA. These same channels could be reused in other MSAs, but only when the separation distance was about 100 miles.
Okay, I'm sorry for stopping. I have to stop just for a second. This is all like animated art cards and stuff, like these are all physical representation, like who wrote this, who was this written for, who was the intended, like who was the audience, who saw this, like I have a million questions about shit like this, because not only am I fascinated by the rather good, I think, clear explanation of the system, the old system, the new system, which we'll see, but like who was it for? Was this for people who worked at the phone company so to understand the service better? Was this not really an advertisement to introduce it to the public? It couldn't have been that. This is too detailed for that. But I love it. I love every minute of it.
Or roughly 5 times the radius of the coverage.
Oh man, sorry. Hold on.
Only a few of the channels of it in a single frequency band were assigned to each MSA.
I'm switching back now.
So only a few conversations could be carried on simultaneously in that area. In any given MSA, customers vying for service greatly outnumbered the available channels, forming in effect giant party lines. With so many customers often competing for a channel, many calls simply could not be made because, more often than not, the line was busy. The Bell system has made many technical improvements that are reflected in today's system. In most areas, push-to-talk has been replaced by the simultaneous talk feature. Automatic channel selection and dial tone.
And they call it simultaneous talk. I think we know it as full duplex, right?
Also available. But the number of people who can use the system remains extremely limited. The Bell system's primary goals in developing tomorrow's advanced mobile phone system are to supply mobile service to more people, to improve the quality of mobile communications, and to lower the cost. The FCC made these goals attainable by allocating to common carriers an additional 40 megahertz bandwidth.
All hail the FCC.
About 850 megahertz. In amps, this band of frequencies is divided into 666 channel pairs, with a 30 kilohertz spacing between channels. With the additional 40 megahertz bandwidth, Bell Labs engineers can make more efficient use of the radio frequency spectrum in these ways, by using low-power transmitters in the mobile units and now in the base stations renamed cell sites, and by subdividing MSAs into smaller units or cells. These cells range from 1 to as much as 8 or 10 miles in radius. Thus, AMP's designs achieve a spectral efficiency not possible in present large cell arrangements. The hexagonal shape of the cells is a convenient way to represent areas without overlapping or leaving areas uncovered. Each cell set or group of 7 cells is a complete unit, in that it can use all 666 available channels. Let's letter these cells A, B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Every time I think they're going to stop giving detail,
Cells
they go
adjacent to
further
one
into
another
detail.
must use different channels. But the same channels can be reused simultaneously in different cell sets when the separation distance is great enough. For instance, if a G cell handles channels 4, 5, and 6, all the adjacent cells must have different channel assignments. However, all other G cells, because they are sufficiently far away, can handle channels 4, 5, and 6. Depending on population density, the number of channels assigned to a cell varies greatly. Relatively few channels in outlying areas, and perhaps as many as 96 channels in metropolitan areas. In all cases, in amps, the total number of channels in the 7-cell set cannot exceed 666.
I'm sorry, did nobody see? I guess it just must be a coincidence that the number came out to 666, but like that always freaks people out, that number. Like, I feel like maybe couldn't we have like just taken one away so that it wasn't quite
As the number of
or
customers
two, I don't know.
increases, cells can be subdivided or split so that more customers can be served. A characteristic of FM transmission, the so-called FM capture effect, makes cell splitting practical and directly relates to wideband FM modulation.
What does that sound? I guess
Whenever
that's
an FM receiver gets 2 signals at the same frequency, it locks onto the stronger of the 2, shown by the direction of the arrow, and suppresses the weaker signal. Even though cell splitting proportionally increases the strength of the signals, both desired and interfering, their relative strength is not effective. While considering cell size, let's look at reuse ratio, the relationship of the distance between 2 cells assigned the same sets of channels.
yes, reuse
and the
ratio.
radius of those cells. For purposes of our discussion, we will use a typical reuse ratio of 4 6/10. Then, if a cell were to have a radius of 4 miles, another cell with the same channel assignments must be at least 4 6/10 times 4, or 18 4/10 miles away.
Okay.
If the cell's radius is split in half, a cell assigned the same set of channels will only have to be 9 2/10 miles away.
Okay.
In today's system, with the or said another way, a channel assigned in New York City cannot be reassigned until Philadelphia.
Okay.
In amps, with 1 mile radius cells, a channel can be used many more times in the same area. Growth of the system is handled in 2 ways. As an area becomes more densely populated, cells within that area can be split and, when necessary, split again to increase service. To extend service to outlying areas, new startup cells of an 8 or 10 mile radius are simply added on and appropriate channels assigned. Another major factor, in addition to the cellular concept, that makes the Bell system's advanced mobile phone service a practical approach for mobile service is the electronic switching system with its large capacity and stored program logic. Acting as the Mobile Telephone Switching Office, or MTSO, electronic switching offices handle the connection into the landline telephone network and the large number of automatic control features that are required in apps. These include locating the vehicle and the particular cell in which it is operating, identifying and alerting the vehicle, selecting a voice channel and completing the connection, measuring the signal quality, and changing channels when the vehicle moves to another cell. Setting up and managing the call and computing the charges are also handled automatically by the system.
The charges. Handled automatically.
Most of the customer service.
All right, you gotta love this, right? Like all the different numbers, some black, some white, some big, some small.
Features offered with regular landline service will also be available in the future system. Speed calling is now being offered.
Speed calling.
In Chicago,
I believe we say speed dial.
And other features will be added as needed. In addition to the MTSO, a cell controller.
I love these little drawings, dude.
The mobile vehicle are also parts of the logic and control structure, relaying information back and forth between the MTSO and the vehicle. The operations handled by the MTSO would take many more steps if it were not for the presence of a tiny computer known as a microprocessor located in the mobile's logic unit. The use of this solid-state device makes the mobile unit an intelligent piece of equipment.
Okay, that beep needs to go away.
Performing a great number of control functions on its own. To get a better understanding of how the AMP system works, let's take a look at a typical call sequence.
Let's do.
The mobile radio operates on two types of channels. Voice and setup. Voice channels are used for talking. With special audio coding, they can also carry necessary control information while a call is in progress. Setup channels, as their name implies, are used for all call setup functions. When the mobile set is not in use, the mobile radio tunes to the strongest setup channel so that it is always alert to an incoming call or prepared to initiate a call. To make a call, the mobile customer dials the desired number. After dialing is completed, the customer presses the send key. The dial digits are transmitted to the mobile's logic unit, which relays the data message to the cell site. The cell controller, in turn, relays the message to the MTSO. Then the MTSO assigns an available voice channel and instructs the mobile radio through the cell controller to switch to that channel.
Switch to the channel.
All communication which is required to initiate a call is done on the setup channel.
Right.
The call itself is conducted on an assigned voice channel. Sometimes it is necessary to reroute the call through a different cell to maintain a high-quality radio link. This rerouting process is called handoff. The MTSO considers the signal quality of the call channel and determines if the mobile should be handed off. If a transfer is necessary, the mobile is handed off between cell sites.
And now the car's going to crash into the cell site.
By the cell site with the best signal quality. During the conversation, the MTSO scans the signal coming from the mobile vehicle to see whether the call has been completed. Since the MTSO scans the signal every few milliseconds, it knows almost immediately when the call is finished. The channel is then available to another customer. Upon disconnect, the logic unit in the vehicle reverts to always alert to another incoming call or prepare to initiate. Dials a mobile customer, the number is routed through the local telephone switching office and onto the MTSO. When the MTSO receives the number, a paging signal is sent out from all cell sites to locate the mobile customer. Upon recognizing its number, the mobile radio responds on the setup channel with a request for service message. A talking pad is then set up through the cell site where the mobile unit's message came from, and the call is connected to the mobile customer. From this point, the call is treated the same as it was for the mobile-originated call. The call is handed off when the mobile's movement through the service area requires it. The call is terminated when either party disconnects. While the system is taking care of the operational steps, including locating and alerting the vehicle, selecting the channel, making the connection, handing off, or detecting a disconnect, the mobile customer is never aware of the complicated processing that is going on. The result is that mobile customers can make calls in almost the same way as they would in home or office. What does all this mean for tomorrow's mobile telephone customers?
Don't you love seeing the old-fashioned type of telephone handset in a car? Like, I mean, that alone is outrageous. Like, it's so bizarre.
First, they will almost always be able to pick up their handsets and get a connection. Second, mobile customers will be able to make and receive calls during an entire trip rather than during isolated portions of the trip. And mobile service will be available at a lower cost to those who want the service. Today, the Bell system is conducting a service test in Chicago. In addition to testing ants with a heavier load, the Chicago test will provide information on service needs and calling habits. This first cellular system will also help us evaluate system operations, confirming that equipment and control software interact properly. Thus, through the use of the small cell concept and complex solid-state circuitry, and with the total integration of computer control, the Bell system's advanced mobile phone service makes the best use of the recently allocated frequency band. Using and building on existing technology, the AMP system is tailored to the needs of the public. A service such as this will truly be a mobile extension of the nationwide network.
Back when the nationwide network was not primarily data, when people still made voice calls. And I just love even the music with the drum and the flute, you know, like that's so classic. Oh my God! All right, cBas After Dark. Anything can happen Thursday. Kind of bummed out tonight. You'll have to watch the rerun of the beginning of the show for why. But I'm just watching videos to cheer myself up, and those AT&T ones do it, man. All right, there's only one thing I think that actually cheers me up more than that, and that is HBO In Space behind the scenes. Let's find it here. I know I can find this. All right, here we go. This is about 10 minutes long, but what we're going to watch before... Sorry, no ads, please. Try and spare my my audience the advertisements that sometimes pop up on YouTube. Okay, so first let's watch HBO In Space. And unlike what I just did there, I just play it, and I'm not going to talk over it, okay? I'm going to switch to that now, and you're going to get to see HBO In Space as it was seen by millions of HBO viewers at the time, right before a movie, and it meant something special. You know, it meant the break is over. There weren't commercial breaks on HBO. It's a pay television service, but they do have, you know, promotional times in between movies. They'll show a few minutes worth of promos. But then, to announce the movie's back, to announce something big is about to happen, they did this. You've seen it. Almost everybody, I think, has seen it.
Bonus question.
Family, TV. Okay. Okay. That gives anybody who grew up in that era chills or tingles or almost can make them. I've seen people actually become so enthralled with seeing that again after so many years that they almost get tearful. But now the trivia question, what part of that was CGI? Now, I was even going to widen it because I realized the way I asked the question was potentially unclear. which part had a computer involved in any way, even the slightest computer involvement. And even that clue may give it away to a certain degree, because the year was 1983 and they did not have CGI yet. Which part of that was CGI? The answer is none of it. Which part had any computer involvement at all? The answer is the motion control camera. They were just learning how to control how camera flies in such a specific way that they could, program it to shoot at the correct frame rate, so that when they would speed it up or slow it down or whatever, I guess, it would appear to be flying over those houses. We're going to watch a 10-minute thing now about the making of that. You're like, really? Yes, really. Because it's unbelievable to me that there was almost zero computer involved. It's not unbelievable, because I was alive during this time. But what I guess is unbelievable to me is that people kind of have forgotten what photography was, before it was digital photography. People have forgotten what making a film was before digital filmmaking. And this is sort of what I mean by that. Take a 10-minute break and watch this. I think you'll be entertained. I may talk during this as well. HBO Behind the Scenes.
Is one of the most precisely constructed model cities ever built. It was made as part of HBO's new on-air look and is one of over 60 visual elements that were combined to create HBO's new program opens. This film is a peek behind the scenes at how this new look was achieved.
Illusions, take a closer look. If you're the kind to judge a book by its cover, you'll never discover the side of man behind the magic glass.
When HBO decided to create an opening to introduce our exciting new programming, we didn't want just a sign.
Okay, we didn't want just a sign. Now, why am I stopping it? Well, I'm not going to really stop it, but look what she's working on. You can see the words there, HBO Theater, right? This is the graphic at the end of the video. And it was sometimes changed to say different things, but it was always a physical piece of plastic that was photographed with an actual old-fashioned camera with film in it.
We wanted to communicate to the viewers that when they turned on HBO, they were tuning in.
Did you see how they made it? It was multiple layers of plastic so that it was sort of lit from within and looked so unbelievable.
It all began with an idea at Liberty Studios in New York.
We had to come up with a concept that would be unique, that it would look unlike anything else on cable or on network television. I took the viewer and put him in a home environment, and he turns on this television set, and the camera slowly pulls back and goes out his window, and magically we start this tour and flight as we swoop down through a city.
Well, the thing was that the shoot that they're trying to do, they couldn't do it with an actual city. They couldn't run down the middle of a city with a helicopter or shoot it out of a plane or what have you. So the effect they were trying to get, they had to have a city built, a model city. We started off by building a cardboard mock-up, and we marked off on the buildings detail or areas that we felt we would see. From there, we actually architected the building, and we built it up from that.
6 craftsmen worked for over 3 months to create nearly 100 unique buildings for HBO City. The models were all handcrafted with painstaking accuracy. First, they were shaped and molded. They were painted to look weather-beaten. And finally, detailed with incredible accuracy.
Pay a little closer attention to detail. All the things you're taking for granted are just as important as what you should see.
You really don't know how much detail to put into something like this. But a lot of people take things for granted when they walk down the street or look into a storefront or what have you. But if there's something missing, you know something's missing, but you don't know what it is. So you put as much detail in it so the eye picks up every little thing.
There's a working light bulb in every room, in every building, and headlights in the cars and buses.
I love that.
There are hundreds and hundreds of trees, all handmade, all different sizes and shapes.
The model was carefully covered with a tarp, so an artist could paint the 16-foot-tall cyclorama that creates the illusion of twilight.
Whoa.
The length of the model is 30 feet long, and it's actually broken up into thirds: your city, your suburbs, and your country.
This would be a great place to have children come because it's fascinating. It's better than going to Toyland at Christmas time because this place is just filled with toys of one kind or another.
I like the way we really went into the sculpture on the buildings. We researched that a lot. We tried to see the architecture that's found in many of the cities, and most of it's Victorian. That's where we really excelled in, finding the detail in the stone carvings on the buildings. We threw a few extras in, seeing if people would spot them. We put a few bums on the street, a few hookers on the corner. Those little things like our calling card, little things that we wanted to add to the monotony of the 3 months of building this thing.
While some workers were building HBO City, others were constructing the letters that formed the HBO logo.
Okay, I gotta pause it again. Those letters were not CGI. They were physical chrome letters. Like, I think that is a remarkable thing as well.
These letters are made of brass and chrome plated. In the finished effect, they appear to be a giant HBO space station floating towards you. It bursts forth following the Stargate effect, a special piece of animation created by David Bruce.
It's actually pretty simple. You might be surprised when you see it on the table. They're similar to one another and offset slowly. It gives you this huge blast with dots that move down and out from the center of the explosion. Shooting at one frame at a time, the computer will move them slowly across one another to build up the special effects that you see.
The Stargate effect is combined with a star field, the HBO Chrome logo, and several other components, including a musical score with a 65-piece orchestra. Ferdinand J. Smith, composer and producer of the music.
Well, what we were trying to achieve with this particular project on HBO was that they would have the biggest, most exciting sound on television. In other words, you can see some sitcoms that'll have kind of tee-tee-tee-tee-tee kind of openings, and wanted all of the music to reflect how big and enormous a project this is. 24 hours a day of programming that interests people. It isn't just movies.
So there's the guy that did the music.
Enable streaks of color to race around the...
Okay, the streaks of color. This was not computerized. This was a photographic, old-fashioned effect on film.
It's a special effects rig we built to put color arrays into the inside of the Chrome O. Basically what it was is a series of fiber optics built with motors and gears and pulleys so that we can change the color and also move it around.
Well, you can set up a camera out on the street at night, and as the cars move by, their headlights and taillights leave a long streak. It's essentially the same effect.
Reed Paul explains the smoke effect.
Well, the smoke effect has gone through a lot of changes. First time we did it, we didn't have plastic in the room. We didn't have masks. We had no control over it. And it looked like a fire. And it smelled like a fire, and when we were done, we did too. What it does is it gives the model atmosphere, so that when you're looking down the street, a block or 2 blocks away isn't quite as sharp as where you are. It made our mountains soft, so when you're in one part of the model, the next part, which is really 5 feet away, looks like it's 100 miles away.
When the model is finally photographed, it is done with a specially designed, computer-controlled camera that can perform extremely complicated moves. It is filmed one frame at a time and takes up to 14 hours to shoot a scene that lasts only 20 seconds in the finished product.
It takes 14 hours to film that minute-long sequence. I think that also is remarkable and worth
When
repeating.
you do a model sequence like this, is you shoot it with a motion control system, which was a camera motorized to make moves. And in the old days, you would actually have to go and hand crank everything. But now with computers, we have them motorized, and the computer actually does it.
You're going into a trance. If you're inclined to fall for that old hocus pocus, forget it and focus beyond that casual glance.
The last thing photographed is the first thing you see. The actors, portraying typical HBO viewers about to enjoy an HBO presentation. Suddenly, the work, the precision, the endless hours of trial and error all seem worthwhile. The HBO illusion is complete, ready to tease and tantalize your eye.
So none of that was computerized, except the motion of the camera, which doesn't really count because what I had said was which part of it was CGI, which means computer graphics, right? And the computer motion of the control of the camera is not really a computer graphics thing. But hopefully you took some time and really kicked back and enjoyed that with me, because that's really one of my favorite things about the whole, I mean, never, ever do you see any kind of documentary about how any of this sort of thing was produced. So for there to be a 10-minute long documentary that these filmmakers who did it, yeah, they did the documentary themselves, but I think they wanted a little bit of credit for the incredible thing that they did, and deservedly so. And, I'm really grateful that somebody thought to do that. Because, in any other network logo thing, as far as I'm aware, there are no interviews. There is no explanation, no narration, no production of a behind-the-scenes tour or anything like that. Not really. Because if there were, I would eat it up. Like I eat that shit up. Okay. Well, I got those two things off my chest, at least, for anything can happen. And we watched a cool AT&T video as well, which I really don't understand much of, but I enjoy the hell out of. And that was fun. And while I was watching the HBO thing, I have to tell you, I'm flashing back now to an hour ago. What I told you about at the beginning of the broadcast, which was that one of my students tonight told me specifically that I demotivated him by not letting him tell his off-topic story during a lesson that was, that had a topic. Now, we weren't in a hurry, but he was so completely beyond out of left field, like he was coming in from Mars, as I said earlier, that I had no idea what to say. He himself admitted he couldn't explain. He admitted that repeatedly. He's like, well, I can't explain. I don't have time. I'm like, you have all the time. I mean, what's to explain? He's like, and then in the chat later, he's saying, I do have the vocabulary and I do have the speaking skills. I just don't have time to say what I want to say. And I'm like, I don't think anybody said we don't have time. I didn't understand where he was coming from when asked a specific question about a resource we can conserve in the world. Any resource we can conserve, energy, fuel, food, air, water, whatever. Trees. He has to say something like they shouldn't have vouchers at ATM machines. Now, if anybody can explain to me a link, even a potential link, why I should have not sort of just dismissed that and changed the direction back to the topic at hand, which there was a topic, many screens worth of not Photoshop, of presentation. What can I say? What is not a Photoshop presentation problems, giving them a chance to find the word before I just say it for them. I didn't always do that, and I feel like I pride myself on being able to now do that. And I mean, I'm confident the student was unfairly maligning me, came in looking for stuff to complain about, and had kind of an agenda for whatever it was worth. I don't understand it. Like, it's sort of like, I feel like when the Occupy people would protest, we're protesting. Okay, what are you protesting? Well, we can't answer that question. We don't really want to answer that question. We're just protesting. That's like, well, you got to be protesting something. Do you want anything? What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, why don't you just go home? Well, because we're protesting. We're unhappy with the way things are, and it's got to stop. Okay, but what? Like, what? Okay. And I mean, I went in circles with so many of those Occupy people in my role as a real journalist on the ground at the Occupy Oakland general strike, their repeated strikes in the park there in downtown Oakland. Like, I was there live on the radio. I did whole long form stories, interviewing people, letting them have their say, just to try to deliver to my audience what the fuck was wrong with them. But they just kind of have an agenda of no agenda. Like, they really are. I don't know. It was really frustrating for me dealing with that student tonight, and I feel like now I'm not really second guessing myself, but I'm like, part of my brain just has the words already in it. You demotivated that student when I totally didn't, but he said I did, so he felt demotivated because of me, because he couldn't explain the vouchers thing, because I didn't give him time. Like, I don't believe I cut him off or told him to stop talking or talked over him. And if there was a time when I talked over him, it's just because of the non-full duplexness of this conversation. Like, there's a bit of a satellite lag. If you ever watch TV news, a satellite lag between when the speaker stops speaking and when the other person on the other end of the satellite connection starts speaking. There's a delay. And sometimes it can become a train wreck, because they're both talking at the same time, then they both stop at the same time, then they both talk at the same time, then they both stop. Like, it's really very difficult to overcome that. And when you're in the course of one of these classes, it turns out that the lag can be different for each student in each location. So a student in Chile might have a 3 or 4 second lag between when I ask them something and when they hear it, and then when they respond. And a person in Mexico might only have a 0.5 second lag. You know what I'm saying? The distance seems to have a bearing on how long the lag is, and that makes some sense. It's not a complaint, but it's just one of the things I got to overcome. And I feel like I don't think I even spoke over him, or didn't allow him to say anything he didn't want to say. But he accused me of it at the end, and I apologize for it, even if I don't think I really did it. I mean, it's my first time getting criticized as a student, as a teacher by a student, and I feel like that was not fair. And so I'm kind of stinging about it again as the hours go by. I'm over my time. I'm not going to skip a night next week if at all I can help it. I need to be saving my money and not spending my money on anything else anyway. So I need to just be doing this show for my recreation, for my creative outlet. I have a couple of other projects suddenly that are kind of all percolating at the same time as far as creative outlets. That makes me feel good. I think I've had nothing but success with this teaching job except for tonight. And even then I had success and he was just in a bad mood kind of thing. Okay, enough. I needed to talk though. So I'm glad you, of all people, were here. Next program Saturday night. Watch me pick my nose here. The fast food, junk food extravaganza will be here Saturday night. I think Sarah Bell will be here. And I will sure be here. Have a great Friday night as well. And a great Sunday night. We'll be back here Monday night on cBas After Dark with Nerd News Monday. I have a feeling we're going to do more AT&T films Monday night. just for the shits and giggles. I love watching those. Good night.